All right, so welcome, Anita, to Raw and Cooked Vegan.
Hi,
Great to have you. Great to have you.
that's good to be here.
All right. So the first thing I just want to hear a little bit about is your upbringing. Was your family, when you were young, what was their orientation towards diet? Was it pretty much standard American diet, or did they have some nutritional consciousness? And did they advocate fitness? Was that at all a part of your life when you were growing up?
Well, as far as the diet goes, I would say it was pretty standardized American. My grandma's from Guam, so rice was very, very popular. Just a staple. We had it all the time. But typically, I think my mom was conscious of health
Yeah.
and try to have a potato or rice and a vegetable and that sort of thing. But it was, that meat, pork chops, was it meatloaf, chicken, something like that, some kind of vegetable, some kind of starch, macaroni and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, that sort of thing. Most of the time, though, it was all processed cans, mashed potatoes out of a box. Every now and then we get the real deal. Scalloped potatoes, we had that. Um,
Okay.
Turkey hot shots on a
Yeah.
interest. So
So would you say that you pretty much just didn't think about it? You were, that was what you were fed and that seemed normal and that's what everybody else was eating, that kind of thing?
absolutely, you didn't question what was in front of you.
Right.
As I got a little older, as I, preteen, teenage years, my stepdad came into the picture, and we started having more out to eat. We had pizza almost every Friday. I got to the point where I did not like Burger King. Like, no more Burger King. And then it also got to the point where my brother and I kind of ganged up and said, you know what? We're kind of tired of pizza. Can we do something else? So but that didn't last forever, but
Yeah.
and we were tired of it. So
All
I know
right.
it just, I mean, that's just how life progressed, I think, for us.
Okay. And were you at all into sports, athletics, or not interested in that? How did that go?
I was in gymnastics for a part of my youth. Some of it, like I would get out of it and get back in it. My mom and my dad divorced when I was quite young, and so it was her basically taking care of my brother and I. There was times when it just wasn't in the books,
Yeah.
so it wasn't important. I'm a bookworm. I read all the time, and I did as a kid.
Uh-huh. All right.
It was hard to
Cool.
take me away from the couch and the book.
All right. And could you characterize your health in general up until the point where you decided to explore changing your diet? Would you say that you had annual colds and flus? Did you have any chronic illnesses? Anything like acne? Anything? What was your health like?
As a teenager, I didn't deal with acne all that much. I
Okay.
had it like a normal teenager across the forehead here and there, but nothing real, real bad. But I did have allergies to the point where I was getting shots of, I don't know, Claritin and then Benadryl, which would knock me off of I mean, literally knock me off of my feet. I would not be able to stand up. And
Yeah.
I would get those every few months because I couldn't breathe. I was miserable. Um,
Wow.
just so the seasonal allergies really got me a lot as a teenager into my early 20s. And
Yeah.
then as I got older, it wasn't so severe, and I started taking more. I mean, I don't even know when it all started, but just I don't want to medicate myself all the time.
Right.
I don't like it, and I kind of was moving towards that a long time ago, and would just not go to the doctor. It seemed to kind of taper off, but I would still have the cold and sinus congestion and junk in the spring, and then I'd get it again in the fall, and it was annoying.
It's funny that you say that. I just wouldn't go to the doctor. I think a lot of people intuitively feel that they know it's not helping them, but it's like the only thing they know to do, so they go, but
Right.
they don't want to go really, you know?
So it feels like, but we did this already. I've already been on this antibiotic 5 times. I've had this shot, and I mean, and the answer you kind of get was, well, you need it again.
Right.
And I guess I never knew the right question to ask. Well, why? Why? why is this continuing to happen, or what can I do to make it not happen, you know? So, I mean, I wouldn't have known to ask those questions back then, especially early 20s. It just didn't cross my mind.
Okay. And just for the sake of reference, can you tell me? Uh, I know you have a couple of kids. Did you have your kids prior to changing your diet? I think I remember that.
Yes, we have 3 kids,
Okay.
and we have always kind of tried to eat healthy, or what we perceived as healthy at the time.
Yeah.
And so the transition, which started about 2 years ago now, was a difficult one. And I actually did push back a lot.
Okay.
Because as a mother, I think as a female, I'm kind of compassionate. And then I also, you hear this little birdie saying, oh, you can't, they're not going to get enough of this, or they're not going to get enough of that. And I'm thinking, well, how do I know? How do I
Yeah.
know? And it took a long time for me to trust the information I was getting. I don't easily trust every article that comes up on Facebook, or so it took me a long time to know, okay, this might be trustworthy information, and that's probably trash.
Yeah.
And plugging, I think what really helped out, especially with the kids, was plugging what we're eating into like Chronometer and
Yes.
seeing the nutrition pop up, and
Yeah.
know, okay, we're meeting these needs, and we're not, eating what everybody thinks we need to be eating.
And I love this point you're making, that you're compassionate, and it sounds like, tell me if I'm wrong, I'm interpreting that to mean that you felt compassion for people who are eating these foods that you know are unhealthy, and you don't want to deprive them of these things that you're enjoying. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, we liked, pepperoni pizza, and it feels like, we were telling the kids, well, we do this, we're eating healthy, we're having chicken for dinner, and
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
we're eating healthy, we're doing this, and then it's like, oh, you know what, mom and dad may have had a we're still learning too, is I think the approach we took. We're still learning about this too. And yes, we felt like we were eating healthy. Now we're going to try to eat a little more healthy,
Right.
and started down that road. And our kids have actually been pretty educated, not only on the compassionate animal rights, not rights, that's a wrong way of phrasing it, but
Yeah. Yeah.
compassion towards animals. And to hear them talk sometimes, where their mind is, and what is healthy for your body. They've
And
kind of got equal dose of that.
yeah, that's totally cool. Can you tell me at what age your kids were when you started to change things in the house?
Abigail was 5,
Okay.
so Azalea was 7, and Elijah was 8.
Okay. Okay. That's good. They're still a little bit malleable at that age. That's good.
They are, but they're also starting to get to that age where they're really pushing back. So it took a long. I think that's probably the most asked question I get by parents or mothers mainly. There's a lot of moms that I hang out with who are really interested in um, being a vegetarian or being vegan even. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how you do it. I don't know. My kids just won't eat it, and I always say, you know what? At first it's difficult, but they're going to eat what you put in front of them, and they're going to listen to the information you give them about this. It's all in your approach. It's all in how you give it to them. Yeah, the first day, the first week, the first month, even the first 6 months was kind of difficult. I mean, it got easier, and it continues to get easier, and we continue to try new foods and try new things. But the biggest thing is to get, one meal down. Okay, they like this meal. Find another one. Okay, works. Find
Just
another one. And then, we've tried several different like sauces. Okay, this, Abigail doesn't like this one, but Elijah does. And it just, you do what you have to do until everybody's comfortable with it.
that's a great point. It's just a fundamental thing. It has to taste good. If it doesn't taste good, then it's not going to work.
Especially with kids who grew up that way. I mean, as an adult, you can think, I didn't really like the way that tasted, but I'm going to eat it anyway. I know it's good for me.
Right.
You may not do it again, but you will still eat it. Kids, on the other hand, are like, no, is not happening.
Right, right. All right, now tell me. I think Justin told me a little bit about this, but tell me how you decided personally to make these changes for yourself. Did Justin do it first, and then you started to think about it, or did you do it first, and he? How did that go down?
Justin was definitely on this. The train was already going before I even realized that he was making these changes.
Yeah.
So it kind I sort of felt sidelined by it, like,
Yeah.
oh, okay. I mean, we talk about things, and I even had the passing thought, I really could do without. I don't like hamburger. I don't like chicken enough to think that. But I was still very much on the tip of the iceberg, and he was full in. And it took me probably 5 or 6 months after he decided to go briefly vegetarian, vegan, for me to go vegetarian.
Well,
So
and Anita, you're making me think. This is an interesting point because, of course, I'm sure this is changing, but a lot of women do a lot of the cooking, and if you're cooking for the whole family, and then somebody starts eating a totally different way, it's like it's a pain in the ass, right?
well, yeah,
So,
yeah. Ask Justin. Justin actually does a lot of the cooking, and
okay.
it's a little more even now. His school schedule is crazy, but I was working full time. Justin's going to school, and so he actually had taken on a lot of the cooking duties.
Okay,
Uh,
okay.
so we are reversed in that a little bit, but
Well,
it's
that's
still,
good. Modern man. That's good. That's good.
yeah, but it still was kind of, it can still be difficult. He still will eat a completely different meal than the rest of us.
Yeah.
Just he, well, he's very strict on how many calories he's going to eat, and he plans everything a whole day in advance. Where we're still, I get home from work, and it's like, okay, what are we going to do for dinner? So it's
Is
still,
he does he focus on more raw also? Does he try to do more raw or?
yeah, he does more raw than all of us. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay. All right. So he kind of picked it up first, and he's doing it for a few months or maybe a year, and then you finally decide. What was it in you that made you decide I'm going to try this?
Well, as I kind of alluded, I always was kind of moving towards being healthier. I think what it was hearing Justin's podcast in the background and
Yeah. Yeah.
the different information that was coming, and hearing him talk about it, and how he was excited. He kind of was about all this new information he had, all the stuff he was discovering. And
Right.
there were days when I was like, I don't want to hear this anymore. And there were days,
Yeah.
but I also take the approach of, once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. Like,
Yes. That's
you
right.
you know it. There's no excuse. There's no. I mean, from that point, you have a choice, and there's that. And talking about the farming techniques, and world hunger versus how much we feed to our livestock.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
the thing, that kind of thing baffles me. I mean,
Yeah.
just
It is. It's mind-boggling, Anita. Yeah, yeah, it's so true. I mean, it essentially means we could feed the world easily. Yeah, yeah,
like we first of all, we treat this livestock as if they're possessions. We don't consider, um, I don't want to say emotions, but how they're supposed to live, their quality of life, and like I said, we treat them as if they're possessions, they're things, they're objects, and they're clearly not. And that bothers me. And then that whole scenario of, we feed our livestock, we because we want the cow, we want the meat, we want the chicken. We feed them all this food that we could be taking and feeding the world. We consider that more important. We consider what we want in our stomachs more important than maybe the rest of the world. And I don't know all the political ins and outs of what that would actually entail, but that seems a little backwards to me.
yeah, yeah. It's huge. Yeah, it's amazing that it's kind of evolved into that. This just total unconsciousness of how we could easily resolve so many issues. And then of course you have the negative health consequences of eating this way, which
Right.
makes it kind of a no-brainer. I mean, yeah.
Yeah, it seems like an easy answer, but it's not. I mean,
Right.
just our little community, the different people don't push back so much now. It's been 2 years, I think, that it's not so novel anymore. But just starting off at first, the things that we would hear, the things that people would tell us, and thinking
Yeah.
that how many jokes Justin had to put up with. Oh, are you eating grass? Silly things, just silly things that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But people can't. They have a hard time moving from one mentality into another, I think, and they want what they want, and I don't. I can't judge them for that. I mean, that's a choice that everybody has to make.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. Okay, now tell me. So you decided to make this transition, and so you started incorporating these changes into your diet. And can you first tell us about the health consequences of making these changes? Did you notice any differences in your own personal health after you made these nutritional changes?
The consequences, like the bad.
Well, beneficial
Okay,
consequences.
I was gonna say. Usually, when you hear the word consequence, you think the
Right.
bad thing, but really, the let me. You had alluded earlier to like the ovulation and women's cycle and things, and I had already started going to a doctor because I've had strangely irregular cycles.
Uh-huh.
Six, or what they told me. I'll tell you what they told me. I was only ovulating half the time. Not really a big deal. We have 3 kids. And we're not looking to have any more. So other than the annoyance, I was just kind of letting it go because they're
Okay, now let me clarify, Anita. So you're ovulating half the time, meaning you're ovulating every other month?
basically, yeah.
Okay, and this was prior to changing your diet, right?
Yes.
Okay.
So, and that's what they told me. And their solution was to put me on 2 hormonal, well, birth control
Yeah.
and a hormonal something to spike my hormones in the middle of the cycle so that it would trigger that ovulation.
Okay.
One, I'm allergic to birth control. I it makes me throw up violently, like somebody who's allergic to Vicodin. And they want to say, well, there's so many different kinds. There's different levels of hormones. There's so many. You have to. I'm not going to try 50 different birth controls until I find the one that's not going to make me throw up. It is not pleasant.
You know, I love that you're saying this, and I imagine if that was the case for you, that even women who take the birth control for and don't have the extreme symptoms that you obviously experienced, it's probably not the ideal thing for their body because it's an artificial hormonal introduction into the system. But anyway, go ahead. Go ahead.
And I've said that so many times. It's not natural. It's not your natural hormones.
Right.
But so after I cut the meat, and honest to goodness, the first year at least was mainly I just didn't eat meat. I still had dairy products, which has changed a lot drastically in the last half a year or so. But
Okay.
within 3 months, I started cycling like normal.
Now that's interesting. That's interesting. So just so the viewers know, what you were still eating some dairy products, but you had eliminated all meat?
Correct.
Okay. So and had you eliminated eggs?
Not completely.
Okay. So eggs and dairy, but it sounds like minimally. It wasn't like a lot of egg and dairy. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay. But that's pretty amazing. So in 3 months, you're having normal cycles every month.
Yes, and I remember like, Justin, this is weird. Like that we went to the doctor, went through this whole process, and everything seems to be normal now.
Okay.
I remember just saying, and then by 6 months later, the cramping and it's toned down a lot. Like it's not near as bad as it used to be.
Okay.
So, as a woman, my life has improved.
Yeah, this should be like on the headlines of every newspaper. It's like, I have 4 sisters, and I'm familiar with what happens, and in terms of PMS. And pretty much everyone I've talked to, women that have undertaken this diet, they pretty much no longer have symptoms, or if they do, they're just very minor. They're almost like who is it? Dr. Pam Popper. She says it becomes a non-event. Menstruation and ovulation becomes a non-event.
It really does.
And I think that's the way we're naturally designed to be. You know.
Yeah, it's amazing. After years and years and years of just, and I don't enjoy that time of the month. Come on, but it's night and day. It truly is so much better than it ever used to be as a teenager. If I complain now, I really need to I should remember how it used to be, because I have nothing to complain about.
All right, now I've got another theory on this, and it's that when you're eating the conventional standard American diet, it's so high in fat that the fat just kind of goes into the whole system and starts to obstruct the finer aspects of the system, so that it obstructs the normal processes of the body. And something like ovulation, the menstrual process, these are pretty fine, delicate aspects of the body, and it seems to me pretty simple that if you clog it up with fat, it's not going to function as effectively as it would normally. And I think I don't know how much, if there's evidence for that or not, but I've also wondered about that in terms of Alzheimer's and a lot of other diseases of the brain, where you've got this very delicate organ in the body getting subjected to high levels of fat from the blood, and therefore it's not going to function normally. It's not going to function at its highest level. But anyway, oh, go ahead.
I have to say, I wonder about that too. I kind of feel like I'm experiencing. Oh, can you hear me?
Oh, yeah, I lost you for a second, but go ahead, say that again.
Oh, I said, I do agree with you. I wonder about those things myself, and I kind of at times feel like I'm experimenting on myself or on my husband. The things that we find out, like, oh, well, that's neat.
Yeah. All right. So can you think of any other aspects of your health? And it might be something as subtle as increased energy level, or loss of weight, or are there any other health things that you noticed in terms of improvement after you undertook this style of living?
Well, since I've cut back more on the dairy and egg products, the allergy symptoms have really, it started to decline, but this season is supposed to be, this spring has been really bad. I've had cousins in the hospital with asthma problems and stuff, and I haven't had the first symptom. Whereas out of high school, I was taking, shots of Claritin and Benadryl. So that's a massive, massive, massive improvement. And
that's huge, Anita. That is huge.
Yeah, well, and then you try to tell people, once again, you try to say, you could try to cut back the dairy. It seems to have worked for me. Yeah. And, you want to put it delicately. You don't want to like, oh, you really shouldn't eat. Nobody wants to hear that. Right. But normally the response is, oh, well, they don't, that's not something they want to talk about.
I got to plead. Oh, go ahead. Say it again.
I said it truly works. Like, yeah. I haven't had my springtime cold, and I really hope I don't get it now, but I'm really glad. I
know. It's so simple, and now you don't have to pay for these drugs like Claritin, and who knows what side effects they're having, getting stored in the liver or whatever. I was just going to add, I was vegetarian a long time before I became vegan, and I used to live in Atlanta, and every year I was getting allergic symptoms worse and worse. I was vegetarian. I was eating a good bit of cheese. And if I had just known to go all the way and go vegan, I would have been free of that,
Right. And cheese, that's the enemy right there.
Yeah.
That's my downfall, and that's why I would label myself a nearly vegan, not a vegan, because I do indulge in cheese on a very rare occasion. It's an exception to the rule.
Well, that's like nothing. You know, you do it like once a month or once every couple of months. It's like nothing.
Right.
All right, so tell me a little bit about. I'm kind of curious to hear about as you implemented these changes for your kids, um, and it sounds like you kind of tried to find things that they liked. Is it right to say that you were doing pretty much a cooked vegan thing? Were you into the raw thing at all? Was that playing a part in what you're doing?
I've personally never explored raw vegan diet. Um,
Okay.
Honest to goodness, I get tired of hearing about it. Not Justin, let me clarify that.
That's
I
all right.
hear about you hear all these other YouTube channels and the drama, and I just keep saying you're making it so difficult for people who might want to try a healthier diet um, to make that transition because as soon as they start hearing all of this argument and this my way or the highway kind of mentality, it people who may have made a decision to try to change their diet and look for help through maybe YouTube, maybe Facebook, maybe they're going to find it very difficult. I think I would find it if we would have went off straight from the start and he's like, "We're going to do raw vegan." I would have done that. I would have just laughed at him. I don't think so. Because it's you gotta leave room for grace. That's what I was trying to say. But how do I want to phrase it? If people are trying to be healthier, make it easier on them, and encourage people to, yeah, that's a great dinner, let them learn the benefits of being a raw vegan, on their own. Don't shove it down their throat. I don't know how else to say that. I'm not trying to start any fights or anything.
No. I love that. I love that. And I think that's a powerful approach with so many people who are still eating animal products. It's like you're not going to get them interested by talking about a raw food diet. And to me, a shift from animal-based to plant-based is the major shift.
Yeah.
And then after that, you can talk all you want about whether you want to eat rice or bananas, have at it. But
Right.
the main thing is go vegan, I think.
Oh, and yeah, I agree. I'm not, I don't think they're wrong by any stretch of the imagination. By all means, they probably are. I consider myself pretty healthy,
Yeah.
and they're probably healthier than I am, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
I'm okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
I'm not like on this. This isn't a contest to me. So I think if that's what they want to do, and once again, it's a choice that people have to make on their own.
Yeah.
And so don't make the choice for them. Don't put people down. Don't be so mean, for trying to make these decisions or making these decisions, and then all of a sudden, we spoke to a guy recently who sort of fell off the wagon, the vegan wagon, I guess, so to speak. And how discouraging would it be to kind of fall off the wagon and then try to get back on, and then it's like, well, man, you really are doing this the wrong way anyway, kind of thing. That I don't.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like don't be hard on yourself. Any steps you take towards health are good, and do as much as you can, and give yourself some room to grow. What's the phrase you said earlier? Room for grace. Tell me what that comes from. I like that.
Where room for grace comes from.
Yeah.
Well, where it comes from is my faith, but
Yeah.
it just
It's like you're saying there's an element of surrender, and you're not asserting your ego in a way that's offensive to the way other people are growing. Is that right?
yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
That's exactly where I'm going with that.
Okay.
Make that decision for yourself. But help other people along the best that encourage them, don't discourage them, kind of thing.
I love what you're saying, and that's kind of the approach I take. I do respect others who feel they've got a kind of zeal and a fire, and they feel so strongly about these issues that they really want to press. And if they feel that they're called to do that, that's cool. Go for it. I understand that. But I do think I agree with what you said. For the majority of folks who are still kind of enmeshed in a conventional diet, that approach is not going to be very inviting for most of those people.
Yeah, yeah, that's kind of been my personal experience. If it wasn't for Justin really helping this process along and me getting the filtered information through him, I probably would have had a harder time through this. But I'm not out there doing the research. He has all the knowledge. I'm benefiting from it, I guess, is the best way to phrase that.
All
So,
right. All right. Can you tell me a little bit about like kind of describe a regular day in terms of food for you? What might you have for breakfast? What might you have for lunch? What might you have for dinner?
oh boy. um, well, I'll have, it depends on how I'm feeling. I'm not the kind of person that can eat the same thing all the time, day in, day out. So maybe a bagel, which are vegan bagels,
Yeah.
and some, Justin found a not really cream cheese for me.
Okay. Yeah.
I enjoy that. I've been having salad for lunch. So spinach, kale, carrots,
Yeah.
anything I can throw in there that I like. We have where I work, we have like a cafeteria where we can get whatever. And I was really disappointed this week because they took the beans. We had garbanzo beans at one point and black beans, and they're all gone. And I was like, all my content, all this make me full. I had to like really pile in the broccoli and all the other stuff so that I could make it to snack or dinner. Sometimes I'll have a snack. Usually I'll grab an apple from, we have, like I said, a convenience store. I'll buy an apple and go with that, or bring one from home. That's probably the better option.
Okay.
And then dinner at home. Like today we had refried bean burritos with salsa, spinach, rice. So that was our day.
That sounds good. That sounds good. All right. Now, can you tell me a little bit about, like you said, when Justin first got into this, he was getting a lot of hassle from friends. How about you with family and stuff? Have you guys been to a Thanksgiving, and does it become an issue at all? Is it difficult to talk to family about these things? And also, can you tie in with this? Now that you know what you know that people don't really have to suffer as much as they are if they would simply change some of their habits. So how do you work that into discussions and that sort of thing?
Um, the first year was probably the most difficult, just because it was. I mean, um, first of all, Thanksgiving to me was always, gorging yourself on food and hanging out with family. So it felt awkward, but I think it felt more awkward on my end than maybe on their end. I have a very open family. They very you do what you do, and that's fine, which is nice in its way.
Yeah,
And,
yeah,
but as far as the conversations go, we get into them every now and then. People ask, they're curious, they genuinely are curious. How did you get into this? What, that kind of thing. But as far as anybody being like, oh, no, we have a couple of cousins who watched Forks Over Knives, so they were very kind of interested, but still not ready to take that leap, kind of thing. Um,
okay,
and that was actually that was easy conversation. I mean, all
yeah,
the work was done, but I think that the proof is in the pudding, kind of thing. Uh, I think one of the things that Justin was told was that his hair and his teeth were going to fall out. Um, and of course, it didn't happen. But
right,
and I think that 2 years out now, they're seeing that we're healthier than ever. We're doing
right,
great. We're not frail looking. I think that that was the idea that they kind of had in mind, that we were going to get really willowy and frail. And of course, with Justin doing the powerlifting, that's not going to happen. He can't do that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I have lost weight, but I'm not tiny. I mean, I'm not large. I'm at a good body weight.
Right. Right.
It maintains itself, kind of thing.
And does Justin force you to work out?
He doesn't force me to do anything. No. I actually was doing the Insanity program with a friend.
Damn, girl.
For a year, we did that. Well, for almost a year, we did that. We went to T25 due to scheduling, and then I broke my toe. So I had to back off of all of that, and I started lifting with Justin. But I had kind of got back into it way too quick, and my foot wasn't healing. So I've been on a break for 3-4 weeks now, and I'm ready to do something.
All right.
At this point.
That's cool, though. Good for you giving it a rest, giving it a chance to heal. That's good.
Yeah, I was being way too impatient.
All right. So I'm going to throw a couple of things at you, and tell me what the conclusions you've reached for your personal habits. And the first is vitamin B12.
I don't know.
Okay.
I throw some flaxseed in my food every now and then and hope I got it covered.
All right.
I get my nutritional advice from Justin, and if he says, hey, you might need to do this, I do.
Gotcha.
I do kind of trust him in that guiding way. I think that, I'm sorry, I don't have a very good answer for that.
That's all right. That's fine. And then there's two others I usually ask, which you could probably throw in the same category, but vitamin D and iodine, they're two that I'm kind of interested in. But, of course, vitamin D is from the sun, so I imagine you do get outside sometimes.
Especially now. I love that summer is here. I love that I can go and just lay out in the sun, and I feel better knowing that I'm getting a little more vitamin D than I probably was, because while we do drink the almond and coconut milks that kind of enrich it with vitamin D, I don't think I drink enough to really help. So that kind of was a back burner concern of mine.
Okay.
And then, I might go as far as to see about, just get my levels tested, but I haven't really exhibited anything that made me think that I was deficient in anything. So
Great.
I have a tendency to, read the signs of my body, so to speak. If I feel like something's not right, I want to figure out what it is. I don't want to fix it as naturally as possible. I don't like to take medicine. I don't even like to take Advil. That might be a little extreme.
No, I love it. I think that's smart. Yeah.
Yeah, because I feel like that pain is there for a reason. If I know, like when I broke my toe, I knew what that reason was. I broke my toe. But, but like if I'm having, like I'm working out and something's wrong with my shoulder, which has happened before, I don't want to numb the pain because I'm afraid I'm going to hurt it worse. Yeah. Like that's kind of the mentality I go with. If I know that it's there, I'm going to be more careful, kind of thing.
Absolutely. There's a topic I'm interested in, and you can share with me on it if you want. You don't have to if you don't want. But you mentioned your faith, and it seems to me that there's some interesting historical and maybe biblical references to a vegetarian or vegan diet. Like, in the Old Testament we have Daniel's diet. Daniel ate a vegan diet. And then I think in Genesis there's a reference that prior to the fall it was a vegan diet. And I wonder if you've come across that, if that is of any interest to you.
Absolutely. I think that God made provisions when provisions were needed, as far as the animals and things go. But I think that, straight out in Genesis, we were given the fruit of the earth to eat. that was the way he created us. That was, and I'm not saying, the fruit now is as good as the fruit was then. I mean, there's so many ways you can spin that. The earth wasn't as enriched, and I've heard so many things, but I'm just saying, this is what God created. For me, in my faith.
Right.
God
Right.
created this. Man has not manipulated it at all.
Right.
That seems to me to be the best the best for you, if that's what God made, and with Daniel, I kind of want to know what was going through that guy's mind, because, here he's seeing these guys loving eating their meats and their sweets, and he's like, no, I'm going to stick over here with my carrot, and
Yeah.
it totally worked out for him. I mean, that's a great story. It's a great reference, and it, people go at it with, I'm going to go on the Daniel fast kind of thing. Well, how
Right.
about Daniel lifestyle? Let's give this a try. So,
That's good.
I love that that's in the Bible. I love that, God has, made ways, provided, after the flood, there was no vegetation. We have animals. It kind of made sense that that was where we went. And I can't say that I think that it's against what God, I can't say that it's against God in general for people to eat animals when he said that it was okay. But I do think that the diet that he intended for us was what he made for us, what he created.
Right.
But
Yeah.
he did the animals, I guess, but that wasn't their purpose.
Well, I like that. And I think what you're saying coincides with, if you look at, let's say, paleontology and the way man evolved out of Africa and transitioned from these tropical environments that are rich in fruits and vegetables into these colder environments where you really don't have those foods, it makes sense that you'd have to make allowances and find some way to survive. But the fact that those other foods allow survival does not necessarily mean they're the best foods for health.
Right. I think that, just the diet itself has proven that to me.
Yeah.
People make claims on all kinds of things, but I know what's working for me.
Yeah.
So.
I like it. And I think also for folks that have a Christian perspective, I hear sometimes this concept of stewards of the earth, and I think the animal ethics issue and the environmental issues fall under that category. So, and I think if you're really honest about what this animal-based industry causes and what it reflects in terms of ethical behavior and environmental damage, you can't in good conscience allow it to continue.
I agree. I do think that we're missing a lot of that, period. We're just kind of missing the whole point.
Yeah. All right. Okay, so let's see. Have you in your readings, or as time's progressed, have you come across any aspects of the environment that you think are so? I mean, you mentioned earlier that, of course, if we stopped feeding all these cattle, we could feed starving people. So that's a basic thing. Any other items? Yeah.
You get my point.
Right. Is there anything else you want to add on that, on either the animal, the treatment of animals ethical front or the environmental front?
I mean, honest to goodness, sometimes I think humans treating human front is the most important. I read the news lines today, and that it makes me sick. I wish we could treat people and animals better than we do now. I think that human nature as a whole has kind of taken a left turn, and I can't say that it had. I mean, it's probably always been leaning that way, but the bad is glorified more than the good.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we treat animals unethically, but I think that we treat each other unethically as well. What people do to kids, it all saddens me. I don't know. I don't go and stand behind any one thing, because it's all kind of, kind of important.
Right, right. I got you. Okay. All right. So is there any kind of tips you'd give to folks who are considering this as a new way of living, as they make these transitions? Any kind of advice you'd offer?
One day at a time, one meal. I mean, find something you like and work with it. We love. I can't tell you how many different kinds of burritos I eat. Rice and broccoli. Rice is always going to probably be. I grew up on rice.
Yeah,
I love this stuff. So
yeah.
it's in a lot of the foods I eat. But I I'll look in the fridge and say, okay, I'll throw all of this in a tortilla shell, or you know what, I'll put it in a bowl and add some soy sauce, or something. If you want to go raw, go raw. If you want cooked food, you want baked potatoes are another big one with me.
Yeah, yeah,
So I'm gonna make myself hungry. No,
yeah.
just be creative. Don't be afraid to try new things. I've never
Yeah,
tried asparagus before. Let's go and try it. You never know what you're gonna try it. You might like it. That's a whole kids TV show.
it's
But
good. I got the sense that Justin's pretty creative with stuff. And do you have vegan cookbooks, or do you kind of just make it up as you go along?
the internet's a cookbook.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
We were looking for a recipe for eggplant sandwich, and on the way home from church, he's like, "Why don't you look that up?" I Googled it and came up with about 12 recipes.
All
Second
right.
time. No, I don't have a cookbook.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, let's see. We've kind of covered most everything. One thing I'm curious about. Since your kids were at different ages, and kids commonly have uh, various illnesses as they're growing up, and I think eggs and dairy can be a factor in a lot of those illnesses. Did you notice that when you made these changes for your kids, what happened to their health?
Oh, that one's kind of big. Um, One, I think it's unfair to throw my son under the bus. He kind of has a weak stomach, so
Okay.
his first year of school was, is he sick, or did he just kind of throw up? But
You mean when he made these changes, he was like detoxing maybe, or getting used to the new diet?
no, that was before we even started the diet.
Oh, okay, okay.
So he was kind of, sickly. Now, the first year that all three of them were in school, Abigail in preschool, Zelia in or kindergarten, Elijah in first grade, uh, we still hadn't started the diet yet. Sick. It felt like, uh, now, granted, you're going to go into an environment with all these kids and all these viruses and things, but it just felt like it was a constant rotation with, colds and I don't know if we had any ear infections. I know we had stomach bugs. It was crazy. And like 2 years ago, I think that, it was still there, but it wasn't near as present as we started making the changes. This last school year, my kids missed no full days of school due to being sick. After missing up and around 5 days a year, they missed none due to being sick. Abigail did get sent home 2 weeks ago with a stomach bug, but she was at school the first part, so I had to qualify. No full days. It was a 24-hour bug. She got rid of it quicker than anybody, because it went through our church. Anything that we get, yes, we've had runny noses. Yes, they've coughed. They've picked up little colds here and there. You're not going to be able to avoid that. I'm not saying that changing the diet is making them absolutely healthy angels. That would be great, right?
Right, right.
But the sicknesses are not going into a sinus infection. We're not getting strep throat. We haven't. I'm not saying it's not possible, but we're getting healthier quicker when we get these viruses.
Yeah.
Justin and I have gotten coughs.
You
And
know, you just made me realize too, that makes it a lot easier for the parents, because if the kids are not sick so much, then the parents aren't stressed with that. That's a huge point.
well, and yes, it is. And it's, now all the science is coming out. They don't want you to give your kids Tylenol. They don't want you to give them cough medicines. You hear people double dosing their kids, and we were guilty of doing that on an antibiotic once. That was a fun moment. But we each gave the the dose, and then it was like, oh, let's call poison control now.
Oh man.
Didn't know what would happen, but it wasn't a horrible thing. But I mean, you don't have to worry about that. You know, you do become stressed out parents. You know, with Justin in school, me working full time, you already have enough going on.
Yeah.
You know, to think about. You don't want to have to, and nobody wants to see their kids sick.
Yeah.
It's not fun. Every single time I wish it was me and not them. And then when it is me, I'm like, oh, I feel crappy. But
right.
You don't want it though.
All right. Well, I appreciate you taking the time, Anita, and I'm trying to think if I've missed anything. But I guess one thing that might be interesting, you know, you've got Justin there, who's doing the powerlifting. When you are doing your exercising regime, do you kind of mix it up with cardio and weights, or do you? I guess with the what was it called? The X90? What was it?
No, insanity.
Insanity.
Yeah, my partner would like, no PX90. She doesn't like that guy's voice.
Okay.
We do insanity.
Insanity, that's pretty crazy. I mean, it's like calisthenics with aerobics. It's pretty intense, yeah?
It is really intense. I enjoy it. So yes, I would say we do cardio for sure. Yeah. And there is a certain amount of body weight type exercises. So I mean, I was getting pretty strong there. I mean, it takes a little longer. When I lift with Justin, I get quicker results, much quicker. And then I was doing the lifting and then a little bit of cardio. So.
Okay. Have you noticed with the dietary changes that you're sleeping better, that your energy levels are more constant or higher?
I would say yes on the energy level. I don't know about the sleeping.
Okay.
I definitely sleep better when I'm working out. Like right now, I feel, like I said, I'm ready to get back to working.
Yeah.
Part of it, I think, is I feel more restless at night. Like I'm not tired enough, so I'm not falling asleep fast enough, and then I'm getting up earlier than my alarm, which in some ways is okay, but it feels like, well, I don't know that I'm getting enough sleep, and it's not for lack of wanting to kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Yeah. How about water? What's your take on water? Do you try to add that? What's that?
I said drink it.
Drink it. Yeah. Do you have any set amount, or just when you're thirsty you drink, or?
Yeah, I drink. You know what? I like coffee. I like tea, but I try to make sure that I have at least 2 8-ounce cups of water for every cup of tea or coffee I have. And there's no special reason for that other than I want to stay hydrated. And I know that coffee will dehydrate you. But yeah, drink it. There's no debate that water is healthy for you. Anything you read, I read this, my hair, I had it cut into a pixie cut.
Yeah.
I wanted to grow it back out. Not that I hated it, but I like it longer better. And so I was doing all kinds of research. How can I help this along some? And every single thing, drink water. It's healthy.
Interesting.
It keeps you hydrated. Yes, it's possible. I don't know. It's possible to drink too much. I mean, you can be silly about it, but there's a lot of people who walk around dehydrated. And I have moments. We went swimming recently, and I woke up and I was like, oh, like out in the sun, hot. You know, woke up the next day and my mouth I was just parched, and I was like, I did not keep up. I tried, but I failed. So, when you're hydrated normally, and then you get dehydrated, it's very obvious. Whereas
that's a great point, because I think a lot of people are walking around dehydrated. They don't even know what the symptoms are. They just think it's normal.
Yeah, I'm sure that's how I was, because I don't know. I know that I was walking around not realizing I wasn't hydrated enough. But now, when it happens, it's like, oh no, I know exactly what my body needs. I need to drink some water like now.
All right, all right. Well, Anita, thank you so much for taking the time.
Oh, no
So,
problem.
what I'll do before we close off, I'll invite viewers. I'm interviewing vegans like Anita, so if you're interested, contact me, and I'll post a way that you can do that. And what I'll do, Anita, is I'll edit this and post it, and then you can view it and tell me if you want to change it in any way. Okay?
Okay, that's fine.
All right, all right. Thanks for taking the time.
No problem. Thank you.
And say hi to Justin for me.
I will.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.